Today is Friday, July 28th, 2023. Welcome back to episode 3 of the 9 Frames podcast. I'm one half of your host, Mike Whalen.
And I am Bill Whalen.
And again, we'll start out by just going over some interesting little subplots around the league points. The first one that I saw on Twitter earlier this week was that the MLB attendance and viewership has been growing steadily. Bill, have you seen that?
Yeah.
It was the highest non-holiday total for an average attendance. It was like 32,000
Right.
on a Tuesday since 2015.
It's exactly what you want to see for the sport of baseball. Baseball needs to get hot. I really think it's the most interesting league in the world. Maybe that's just me. I'm biased because there's so many storylines. Like we said, teams like the Pirates can just still be talked about with such passion and such interest. They're still in the storylines today.
Over 32K for a Tuesday on average is impressive stuff.
So everybody cares. Yeah. So another story from around the league is the Dodgers are acquiring former Met and former Guardian now, Ahmed Rosario, for former Met, Noah Syndergaard, and cash. What do you think about that deal?
I think it's a pretty whatever deal. I think the Dodgers get a good shortstop. I think that they're going to make him into a better player.
It feels a little funny for them to be going out for a shortstop, Mickey Rowe.
Yeah.
I mean, they like Miguel Rojas over
there,
I thought.
You know how the Dodgers work. They turn players around. Somehow it hasn't really worked for Syndergaard.
What are they going to do over there, you think, at shortstop, though?
I mean, Rojas can move around.
To what?
I think he can play second. I think he can play
over there, right?
They'll figure it out. The Dodgers always find a way to get everyone
bodies. Syndergaard, the case with him, it's another team thinking maybe they could fix him. Guardians take the chance on him. He's got an electric arm in the past. It's been a while since we've seen that.
Yeah, he doesn't seem like himself much anymore.
Sticking with the Dodgers, though, have you seen the video of Kike dancing in the dugout?
Oh, yeah, they're glad to have him back.
What a return. Is that the best morale in the MLB, you think?
It's up there. It's definitely got to be up there.
At Dodgers clubhouse. We saw him last week at Charlie Freeman's birthday.
I was going to say, you got to think like the whole thing with Freddie being upset about the Braves offer a couple years ago, like it maybe made them closer.
It looks like maybe they brought him in and they said, I'm sorry he treated you like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, they were just playing the rebound.
I'll give a little credit to other teams. It looks like the Texas Rangers are having a ton of fun and really enjoy each other's company. And I'll give another shout out to the Rays as well. Those teams have a lot of fun.
Speaking of the Rays and the Dodgers, the Rays I saw were aggressively pursuing Lance Lynn, but the Dodgers aren't letting off either. They're still attempting to get him before the Rays do.
Very interesting when you just dealt Syndergaard. So you don't want to plug Syndergaard into that role. They have more faith in a veteran like Lynn.
I think Lynn can use a change of scenery. He's been rough this year.
Maybe I mean, this is just me going out here. I really think the Rays are the perfect fit for Lance Lynn. I think that is the type of career rejuvenation a guy finds.
I mean, either one of those are two teams that just turn players around historically.
Yeah, they got the sauce.
Yeah. White Sox, sticking with them, they are, like you said, it's after them just trading Giolito, and now they're going to trade Lynn.
Couple starting pitchers.
They're declining all offers on Cease, though. Not even listening.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. I'm not sure about his contract, so maybe there's some details there, but...
Why wouldn't you let it run at least a little bit toward the deadline closer to hear what people got to say?
You'd think to listen.
On
Wednesday night, they were basically hanging up the phone, so, I mean, we'll have to monitor that situation, but it doesn't look great.
And lastly, Carlos Santana goes to the Brewers from the Pirates for shortstop prospect Johnny Severino.
Yeah, I mean, not a bad deal. Because Milwaukee can use a nice little first baseman there. They DFA'd Hoyt. They're dealing with Rowdy Tellez right now. So this will be the lefty bat kind of to combat that. They'll probably split platoon, I would guess, at first.
You remember that walk-off that Carlos Santana hit a couple weeks ago where he did the celebration with the jump step? That was against the Brewers.
Against the Brewers. I wonder how those guys are going to feel. Maybe they'll be laughing it off. Maybe he'll be seeing some scowls. I don't know.
I think they'll take it in stride.
I'm sure they will.
It's all in good spirit.
That's a first-place team, so...
Yeah, true.
They got to think they're feeling pretty good. We'll keep with it, folks. We'll get into more stuff about the league. Heading on over to the AL first. Angels seem to be making a decision on Ohtani in the season in general, deciding that they're going to go all in on 2023, try to make a run at the playoffs.
They're going for it.
Think it was too early to make that decision?
I think it's always kind of stupid to prematurely draw a line.
Mm-hmm.
You should at least listen until you can't listen anymore.
Yeah, I mean, we got until Tuesday, you know?
It's not that far, so why draw it a week ahead? Just wait until the deadline. You can always say no.
That is
he's
a
not
fair
gonna
point.
he's not gonna get traded unless you say yes.
Yeah, what do we got from the Angels?
They did just add Giolito and Ronaldo Lopez, like we were just saying, from the White Sox for a couple prospects showing that they're buying in.
The Angels' number 2 and number 3 prospects. Number 2 prospect Edgar Cuero. He's a 20-year-old switch-hitting catcher. Versatile thing to be, honestly, so not bad to look at, and he's a top prospect. You got Kai Bush. He's a left-hander, more of a reliever. The Angels, after making those moves, they dropped from the 29th ranked minor league system to the 30th. So, I mean, a lot of people make these big deals about these prospect trades, but, like, what do you really think about that trade?
I mean, clearly they don't care. They went one number down. It's what's 29 to 30, you know?
Right.
Like,
I think the owner made a point to say that he didn't want to sell out. I mean, when you have a guy like Ohtani, such a generational talent, and you probably do only have him for 2 more months, you might as well try to make the playoffs one time during his tenure in your franchise, because otherwise, what was the point of it all?
it's very true.
I believe your fans very disappointed if you ship him out.
It is nice to see them draw that line, though, in a sense, for Angels fans. I'm talking as a fan. Because they usually just stink, man. Like,
Yeah.
even with having Mike Trout and Ohtani, they just don't do anything with it. And they're only 3 out of the wild card, so...
Yeah. A couple teams to drop, 2 AL East teams in Boston and the Yankees above them right now.
And Toronto. 3 of them.
You got to think for Angels fans, it feels good to just see them trading for a pitcher in general. A name that means something, a name that really steps into the game. He can get you 5-6 innings.
I'm a fan of Giolito.
Huge fan of Giolito. Great stuff.
Ronaldo Lopez has been touching 100 this year.
Yeah, and that should help the back end of their pen probably be a 7th inning guy for them. I'd
Absolutely, he can eat innings too
He
because he's a
definitely
former
can.
starter.
Angels stay hot too, securing a 3-game sweep. They won 7-6 in 10 innings in the first game. Then the second game got delayed, pushed over to a doubleheader on the third day, where they won 6-0 and 11-4. What'd Ohtani do?
Ohtani was a massive in the doubleheader. The first game, this is over the Tigers, by the way, where the Halos swept. Ohtani throws a complete game 1-hit shutout, first of his career, by the way, in the first game of the doubleheader. And the second game, he hits 2 home runs.
Might genuinely be the best day of baseball anybody's ever had on a diamond.
Small side note, he did exit the game early with what they're calling cramps, so I think he will be all right.
Holding his side, too, though, it's
On a home run.
little scary. When you see that on a swing or a throw.
Yeah, you usually think like oblique or something.
And he's a guy who does both, so he's going to need that part of his body for entirely his game.
You know what it just came down to? The guy threw a complete game shutout and hit 2 home runs, and his body told him he was too tired.
Right.
That's what happened. He needed a break.
Weird play by Ohtani in the middle there. I don't remember who was running, but he stuck his arm out there, and that bent the wrong way, too. So he had a couple chances of getting banged up in this series.
Yeah, that was worrisome. That was his right arm, too, the pitching arm. You never want to see.
Simply put, though, this series comes down to the Angels being better than the Tigers, which is just how it is right now. And the Angels are pushing.
Yep, I think like I said before, with the fans, it's good for them. But they should have probably listened a little bit longer, I think.
Yeah, aggressive in the trade market. You got to respect it and staying hot. So we'll see if they make it.
Keeping it in the AL and the AL West, specifically, the end of the Silver Boot Series, Yordan Alvarez and Jose Altuve both come back for the finale.
Awesome series overall.
The bench is clear, though. Texas blows them out, 13-5 win. Huge games from Semien and Garcia. The bench is cleared when Semien was rounding third on a home run, and he stomped on home plate, and the Astros just took exception to it.
Did a bit of a hop step, and double stomped on there.
Yeah, so like I said, they win 13-5 from big games from Semien and Garcia.
Semien was 3 for 3 that game with a homer, 2 RBI, 3 runs scored. Garcia was 1 for 5 with that massive grand slam to put the dagger in him. I mean, those two guys, Marcus Semien's a second baseman with an 803 OPS. That's way up. Garcia is massive. Guy's arms are bulging out of his shirt.
Jersey don't fit him.
846 OPS in that schmedium. And the rest of the lineup is cooking. 6 out of 9 of the guys in the lineup on Wednesday had a plus 800 OPS.
That's crazy.
I mean, it's insane. What do you think about the Rangers?
I think they are, like we've been talking about, their lineup just does not stop.
I mean, if your team has OPSs in 800s on 6 out of 9
that's
of them,
well above average.
And that just says they're getting extra base hits. Mm-hmm. So they're not just, these aren't single machines.
The Rangers, they score a ton of runs.
Yeah, I mean, the most in the league, right?
I believe so. Real quick, I mentioned that Altuve and Alvarez returned. Altuve goes 0 for 3 and nothing really there. Alvarez goes 1 for 2 with a walk and a double. So it was a blowout, so there's not really much to talk about. Valdez got slapped around, though.
Yeah, you don't see that often from them. And we were talking about it on Wednesday's episode, too. We didn't think it was going to go that way. We had the Heen dog against Valdez.
It's that Rangers lineup.
13-5 is not how we saw that game going.
Valdez goes 3 2/3, allowing 8 hits, walking 2. Gives up 6 earned. Only 1 K and 2 homers allowed.
Not a high K guy, but still unheard of from him to give up 6.
Yeah,
that's insane.
6 earned with 2 homers and only 1 K.
Low whip, low ERA guy, and he just got tanked by Texas.
Texas, we also mentioned they added that big lefty arm.
Yeah, they did.
And Chapman.
Most definitely.
They're looking at that big righty arm from St. Louis. According to Bob Nightingale, they're aggressively, I put that in air quotes, folks, pursuing Jordan Hicks, fireballer.
Yeah, I mean, grain of salt on the Nightingale, but it's a pretty big move if they make it. They're up 2 games on Houston now after that Silver Boot series, and it's kind of hard to say that adding a guy who throws 103, 104, like another guy.
Another one.
Now you have one that does it as a lefty and one that does it as a righty, so basically, I mean, no matter what side of the plate you're standing on, this team is going to be a nightmare. And that is true for if you're a pitcher as well, because the pitcher, their lineup hits lefties and righties. Their pitchers can handle lefty and righties. It's kind of hard to see if they were to make the Hicks move, how that wouldn't be. They wouldn't be the favorites of the division, I should say.
You don't think that would put them
No, I think it would.
I don't know.
I think the Rangers would be the favorites in the division. I think it would be hard to say they wouldn't if they add another fireballer like that at the back end of that pen.
I think it would definitely put them a cut above, but I know the Astros are in second. I'm not counting out the Angels. I'm just not.
Yeah, you keep doing that. I don't know. I mean, I could see them in the wild card.
They're getting Trout back. They're only 6 out. They're 8-2 in the last 10 on a 4-game heater.
Angels winning that division would be something crazy, but
that's a good way to get Ohtani to resign, is it not?
I mean, I think it's the best way to get Ohtani to
win the division. Go out there and do it.
I just don't know if it's realistic.
Hey, 6 games is doable. We got 2 months left.
Yeah, I like dreamers. They keep dreaming.
All right, going on over to the NL now. We'll start it off with the Marlins, who have already been a pretty active trade team.
Maybe the most active trade team.
Yeah, they've made a couple minor moves. The one last night was more than minor, I would say. The first one
during the rain delay of the Met game.
Yeah, so David Robertson was warming up for the Mets before the rain delay for the 9th inning. An hour-and-a-half rain delay happens. They come back from the game. And everyone's wondering, why is David Robertson not warming up anymore?
Nowhere to be found.
It turns out the Marlins are acquiring David Robertson for 2 very young prospects. Infielder Marco Vargas, who's 18 years old, and catching prospect Ronald Hernandez, who's 19.
Yeah, 2 15 to 20 prospect guys, around the 20th prospect in their organization. That's kind of what you get for a rental reliever.
I've seen Vargas might be as high as 6 for the Mets, though.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Immediately?
Yeah, immediately.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, well, interesting enough.
Apparently he is that good, and people are high on him. They're calling him a helium prospect.
Blowing up.
Yeah, so I don't know.
Kind of hard to fault either team for doing it.
Yeah, I mean, Robertson was an expiring deal. you figured he was probably the most likely to go out of everybody. Maybe he even comes back to the Mets.
It does, unfortunately, kind of symbolize, I think, personally, the Mets almost waving that white flag on the season.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if you're giving away... I mean, how are we even closing games at that point if you're the New York Mets?
It's going to have to be like Ottavino or Brooks Raley.
Yeah, I don't think that's a playoff team.
Brooks Raley got the save last night.
I'm pretty sure the GM who made the move knows that's not a playoff team, and that's Billy Epler, so I think that's kind of what you do. Marlins made another minor move. They did a nice little reliever swap with the Twins.
Couple righties going back and forth.
Jorge Lopez goes over to the Marlins, and Dylan Floro goes over to the Twins.
I think that mainly is just two guys that are struggling in their current locations. Just maybe they'll get a change of scenery and see if they can turn it around.
Marlins a half game back, and the Twins are in first right now. So they send both of those relievers to the minors. Maybe hope that they kind of hone their craft a little bit in the minors for a couple weeks, and then could help them on their stretch towards the playoffs.
Marlins showing strong interest in Tim Anderson. That's a bit of a... They're going for the high hit percentage guys. Arise is another one. I mean, if they get Arise, they'd have two former batting champs on the team.
Right, but Tim Anderson, we see him this year.
He's been turning it around a little bit since the break.
Yeah, really down in the dumps in the season overall. Hasn't been putting the bat on the ball the same way that he was previously in his batting champion year. He obviously a phenomenal player. You know, talent doesn't just come out of you. He's just waiting to get it back going. It's a game of slumps and highs and lows.
The OPS is extremely low for Tim at a 5.64 as it sits right now, but
Right.
The average is up to 241, and over his last 7 games, he's hitting 357, Bill.
Right. Yeah, I mean, if the Marlins make that move, it's going to be them taking a chance on a guy who's obviously is good at putting the bat on the ball when he's at his best. And maybe the team can get him back to that.
Yeah, that's what they're probably hoping for.
So a couple small deals, or like a small deal, maybe another small deal, and then I think a big deal for the Marlins is getting Robertson. I think getting that 9th inning guy is huge.
It's their new closer, you'd assume.
You're a half game out of the wild card, and you get a closer who can really shut down in the 9th inning. I think that's the type of thing to push you over the edge. So I think that's a phenomenal move for them.
Absolutely. So what do you think about the Marlins?
Half game out of the wild card and getting their guy to pitch the 9th. Looking at the field, it's tough. If Cincinnati doesn't make a move, I don't know if it's going to be a good enough team to make it there. That spot might end up going to Miami or Arizona.
I'm going to make a little bit of a bold prediction here. I think the Cubbies are going to make a run for it.
They have been playing very good ball.
They're only 4 out now. They're hot.
Got a little
6-gamer.
Got a little freebie last night, but we'll talk about that later.
I mean, we'll see. It's becoming more and more of a logjam.
It most definitely is. That's why they call it the wild card. It's definitely wild.
I don't know how much I believe in the Marlins lineup. 2-8 in the last 10. You know, they got to get going again. But like I said, I don't know.
Yeah,
I just don't.
It's a bunch of good guys who just, if they do get going, it's a young team that can make some noise like they did back in the 2020 pandemic season. We'll keep an eye on that. Jumping into it quick, we finished off the biggest series of the week, in my opinion, Reds versus the Brewers on Wednesday night. The Reds fall to the Crew again, 3-0. That makes the Reds 3-10 against them this season.
Did you see the stat? Since May 25th, the Reds are 3-10 against the Brewers, and they're like 32-9 or something like that against everyone else.
It's a scary number, man.
It's unbelievable.
Because the Brewers aren't going anywhere. They're going to be around the playoff conversation. So if you're the Reds and you have to match up with that team, oh boy, man.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think they just can't handle the Brewers?
I think it's just it comes down to just honestly a team of veterans against a team of kids, and they've been around this division for so long that I think they're just kind of ready to take hold of it. I don't know. It just feels that way. They've always had the number of the Reds this year. The young kids, they put them down, specifically the back end of the bullpen.
I was going to say I agree with you, specifically pitching in general.
Yeah,
They're veteran starters, Corbin Burns, Brandon Woodruff, Freddie Peralta. How about him yesterday?
Definitely.
Or Wednesday, sorry.
Yeah.
6 innings pitched, 13 Ks.
God, a phenomenal game.
He looked great.
Yeah, Tyrone Taylor homers in the 7th there. It was a 0-0 at that point. That was a 2-run homer. They get one more run later in the next inning. Williams continues to dominate. That's Devin Williams with his 26th save of the year.
The Brewers are doing the thing they did with Josh Hader with him again. They're dangling him out as trade bait for some strange reason. They're in first place.
Man, that would piss me off as a Brewers fan.
Yeah, I don't really understand
To
it.
no end would it piss me off. To have these guys, these are like...
Well, it's because
their stuff is like... There's nothing like it. These are unique guys.
it's because of the package they would probably get for Devin Williams.
Yeah,
which is just... Because nobody really expected him to be available, because I'm pretty sure he's under control for another year.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect him to be available either. I would think they would want to hold on to him and make this run, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's one of the most dominating closers in the league. He's up there.
Game and a half up on the Reds now, too.
He's 6th in the league in saves.
Right, so you're a game and a half up. Your closer's 6 in saves. He's absolutely filthy. I mean, the guy's almost untouchable. He's at a 1.56 ERA and a .99 WHIP, 60 Ks in 40 innings.
Anytime you see a sub-1 whip, you're happy with it.
Debatably the best circle change in baseball. Well, I think the best circle change in baseball. Debatably the best changeup in baseball.
I mean, look at the guy's career numbers. He's got a 1.93 in his career.
In his career.
In
200 games. That's not a short career.
Yeah, his next game will be his 200th, and he's going to be under a 2 ERA.
No, he's just come up. He intricated that circle change. I heard him say a couple weeks ago on MLB Network, actually, that he intricated the circle change in the minors, and he just never looked back. People just stopped touching him.
You see what he added to his Instagram bio? Swing and miss merchant.
That he is.
That circle change gets people waving.
So after that series, and after 10-3 on the year for the Brewers against them, winning 10 out of 13, that's absolutely filthy. What do you think about the Central race here?
Again,
yeah, you're gonna.
We're down to you get everybody's. It's only the Reds and the Brewers. Look out for those Cubbies. Back to 500. They're coming. Only 5.5 out.
Yeah.
I don't think either of those teams are specifically stronger than
this
them.
one is. I give you more leeway on this one than in the AL West. I think the Cubbies have a better chance of winning the Central than the Angels have of winning the West.
I agree with that.
Those two teams in the West are juggernauts.
Yeah.
These two teams, they wanna get in there and make some noise.
Bit of question marks.
Mm-hmm.
The Cubs.
Same with the Cubs.
And maybe the Cubs shift their focus in Bellinger from dealing him to maybe extending him if he's back to the guy that he has been.
Could be the same with Stroman. I mean,
I don't know about Stroman. I think he'll probably be gone. I think he's one of the more likely because of just, I don't know. He doesn't seem too happy there, to be honest with you.
Yeah, but I mean, didn't he say?
Is he ever happy though?
That guy said he wanted to play here I thought he said he didn't want Belly to go and he wanted to kind of stay. Or at least he implied it.
He always says one thing and then he acts the other way. That guy's a clown.
I mean, he pitches his ass off and he's really good this year, man. So
Bellinger, in almost 275 at-bats, is hitting .317 with 15 home runs, 46 RBI. He's got 12 steals.
The MVP Bellinger.
Over 900 OPS. You got to give the guy credit. He's been great. He's rebounded. Everyone was questioning why he would go to Chicago. I guess we're seeing why.
I mean, the Reds and the Brewers are done for the year. The Brewers and the Cubs are not. Neither are the Reds and the Cubs. I believe the Reds and the Cubs start the next series, right?
The Cubs are in the middle of their series right now with the Cardinals, and then after that, to begin next week, they start a 4-game at home against Cincinnati.
Cincinnati. There you go. Yeah, Reds Cubs.
Yeah, so it's the next series. They got 3 more games with the Cards, and then they got 4 against.
That series is going to be huge. Actually,
absolutely,
it is crazy how it got booked that way because nobody really knew that the Reds would be this good, but now the Cubs ownership will be watching that series with at least the beginning of that series with the closest.
They're picking the best time if they want to keep their group together to get hot because
the Cubs have the weekend to show that they can stand tall against the Reds. And that's what it's going to be.
They need to handle business with the Cardinals first.
Yep, show their ownership that they're here to play, and we'll see.
They win 2 out of the next 3 against the Cardinals. I think the Cubs go a different direction than what everyone once thought.
Cardinals are getting a little bit hot. We'll talk about them in a bit. Forget waiting a bit. We'll get right into this one. Cardinals take 2 out of 3 from the Diamondbacks. The Snakes drop 2 out of 3 to the Cardinals.
Shocker.
Puts the D-backs a half game out of the final wildcard spot, which they had. We said they needed to step up against the Cardinals in this series, and they
failed.
They just didn't.
They failed to do so. Like you just mentioned, puts them a half game out of the wild card. Now they're 4 back of the Dodgers. The Giants have jumped them by a game.
I remember when they were in first a week ago.
Yeah, I mean, this is what the Dodgers do every year. There's like a stretch where they're going to go on an insane streak.
Snakes are skidding as well.
Yeah, wrong time.
Very wrong time.
Like we just mentioned, Cubs and Cardinals starting a 4-game. The Cubs taking the first game 10-3. A lot of crazy stuff happened in that game, didn't it, Bill?
That game was kind of nonsense, not going to lie. It was the first inning. There are 2 outs. Ian Happ's at the plate. Takes a big one-handed swing, and the backswing clips Wilson Contreras on the mask, knocking it off his head. He gets shaken up. Needs to be removed from the game. Couple pitches pass by.
You see, though, real quick before you keep going, as Contreras was walking off the field, Ian Happ hugged him to show that he wasn't. He was upset and he was sorry,
there
apologetic.
was clearly no ill will.
Yeah, he wasn't doing it.
Ill will. And then a couple pitches go by. I believe it's a full count. There's 2 strikes either way. Fastball comes in by Miles Michaelis and drills Ian Happ right on the hip. It actually really didn't look very aggressive. I don't know if it looked intentional. Maybe he just wanted to work inside. Debatably intentional.
I think it probably was intentional, but I don't think it was enough.
It wasn't dangerous.
Yeah, I just don't think it was enough.
It wasn't placed in a dangerous spot, and it's maybe just a statement, I guess.
It gets thrown out after 14 pitches.
Now, like as I mentioned, there's 2 outs in that inning when he gets ejected at 14 pitches.
And 2 strikes in the count.
2 strikes in the count. So that puts a man on first. They go to the pen.
Now you got to go to the bullpen for the rest of the game.
Bang! 3 runs. Just like that, right off the bat. You wait another inning, bang, another 2, bang, another 1 spot. Wait another one, bang another 1 spot, bang another. The team is just, I mean, you threw off the entire game plan, umpires. Again. It's the same thing that they did with Angel Perdomo of the Pirates and Derek Shelton. And it's crazy, too, because him getting thrown out of this game, Miles Michaelis, like Angel Perdomo of the Pirates, is going to get a suspension.
You think?
Yep. No, you don't get thrown out of a game for intentionally hitting a guy without getting a suspension.
That's true.
So he's getting a suspension handed down for this. Him getting thrown out of the game is bullshit without a warning already.
I mean, yeah.
So now it's already It's already bullshit him getting thrown out of the game without a warning. Now he's going to get suspended another 3 without a warning. Not that it really matters. He's a starter, so it won't. It'll be 3. He'll be up there for the next start. But I mean, you'll probably see. You'll probably see the manager getting it again, just like Sheldon did. And it's tough.
I think also, though, we can't put it all on the umpires. That game was ugly for the Cardinals because the Cubs are just better than them.
Yeah, but that's hard to say.
No, it isn't.
I mean, Miles Michaelis can't give you 5 decent innings.
I mean, the Cardinals have been awful this year, and the Cubs have not been. They're a 500 team.
We're just talking about how the Cardinals are taking 2 out of 3 from the Diamondbacks, who are a team who are statistically better than the Chicago Cubs.
Barely.
Yeah, but they're better than them. They just are above them. They're above them in a lot of things, and particularly the standings. So this is a team they're beating the D-backs, and they're not getting a chance in this game. Miles Michaelis can give you 5 decent innings, where you're in a 1-1 game after 5 innings, instead of a 5-1 game.
Yeah, but he's also not the most reliable.
I mean, at the end of if he was to go 5 innings in that game, it was already 5-1. It was the game was, the bullpen just melted down.
I think the most unfortunate part of it all was, like you said, he hits that guy. Boom, 3 runs in the first. He gets staked with a loss after 14 pitches because he got thrown out. Now that makes him 6-6. Like I was saying, he's not the most reliable. He's got a 4.38 with a 1.30 whip. I mean,
might be the first time you say this season, but thank God the Cardinals aren't good, because this really would have been bullshit.
Oh, if they were a better team.
If this was a divisional matchup for first place in the division or something, man.
A couple years ago?
Ooh, man. It would be a problem.
Yeah.
I think the umps are making it the ump show this week. I really think.
This week?
I mean, this year in particular, but this week is brutal, bro. We are going to get 2 suspensions on 2 guys getting hit. Like, really,
even if it wasn't
with no warnings.
Yeah. Oh, that's the worst.
No
that's
warnings
the worst
on
part.
Either one.
That's the worst part about the Michaelis one, is that he wasn't even warned.
No warning for Angel Perdomo either.
The umpires just got into a huddle and they thought, "Oh, he did it on purpose. Get out of here."
Yep.
And
And
I
it's
mean,
crazy.
I don't remember when it didn't used to be like that.
Now we're gonna have fines flying. We're gonna have suspensions flying. The league office has to step in. It's just such unnecessary, and it takes away from the game. Straight up, takes away from baseball.
Well, regardless of that, Cubs win again, 6th in a row, 5.5 out of the Central, like we were mentioning, 4 out of the wild card after it. I mean,
Yeah, Cubbies got a good chance, and they got a good game there.
how do you
They-
feel about the Cubs?
They got a good win there, and they have a good roster. I think it's going to the Cubs are one of those teams where it is going to depend entirely on their trade deadline here,
Yeah,
because they're not a team that's
they're right in the middle of the road.
and they're not built to make a run.
They're a
They
500
need
ball
a
club.
couple more spots, so they're gonna need to make a run. They're gonna need to make a trade for some guys.
You got to think a team like them is thinking in the back of their head, though, like, we don't want to make a mistake and buy because their division is so bad, and then they just can't recover later. Like, you don't want to sell off more of your farm to try to make a run at something that you might not really have a shot at.
Definitely,
If
could
that
be a
makes sense.
problem, yeah. I mean, do you think they have a shot at it? You
At
think they
the-
should make the trades?
At, like, the whole thing, like the World Series, I mean
I
everybody's got a shot if you get in.
To simplify it down, do you think they should buy or sell?
I think, you know how I feel. I think the Cubs should go for it.
I kind of think they should. Too.
I think they have a good team. I think the two teams in front of them are not like a full
World
step
beaters.
ahead of
Yeah,
them.
They're,
Like
not, they're not world beaters.
they're right there with them. They got players on that team. I'm telling you, I think the Cubs are going to make things a little more interesting.
I think the Cubs are one of the third place teams. I think have a really good shot of winning the division. Them and I guess Arizona if they turn it on. That's probably
Maybe
it, honestly.
Toronto if the two teams in front of them. I mean, 5.5 for Toronto is pretty impressive with how good those two teams, Baltimore and Tampa Bay, have been in front of them.
It's a phenomenal division over there in the East, honestly.
Yeah, and I mean, you don't agree with me, but those Angels, man, only 6.
Yeah, that'll be your hill to die on, my friend.
They
Honestly.
got the best player of all time, maybe
Mm.
most talented for sure as of right now.
Yeah, so upsetting end to that first game, but it's a 4-game set they started, so that's the first game of a 4-game
It's
set.
the way to set the tone.
Well, it's going to be a spicy weekend for a team that is trying to make the playoffs, and the Cubs. So,
I'll definitely keep my eyes on
it's
that.
going to be one of the most interesting ones to watch.
Lastly, we'll look at the last little bit of interleague that went on. The Yanks and Mets wrap up the Subway Series with the Yankees rebounding and taking Game 2 of a short 2-game against the Mets 3-1. Like I was saying on the last episode, the Mets just don't hit lefties too well, and Rodon, I know he's been bad so far in his first 3, but his fourth looked a little bit better. Classic Mets.
Bit of a slow-moving game. It was just kind of dragging along, even though it was 3-1. Rodon went 5 2/3. He looked disappointed when he got pulled.
He really wanted that quality start.
Pleaded with Booney to stay in the game. Boone called and he said, "God damn it, I had to go to the dugout." He gave up 1 earned run in that game, got the win. Quintana looked great with another quality start. He gave up 3 though. Takes the L.
Isn't that funny how that works?
Yeah.
One guy doesn't have a quality start, gets the W. The other guy has a quality start, takes the loss.
It's tough because you look at Rodon's start, and it is the definition of quality.
Yeah, he just needed 1 out.
Holmes gets his 14th save of the year for the Yanks.
Nice little find they had in Clay Holmes.
Yeah, you cap off this season series. Mets-Yankees split it 2-2.
Yeah, four game series over the course of the whole season. I don't, like I said, I'm not really a big fan of that.
No,
But
they should play 6, but
Yeah.
we'll see how they iron that out.
It
in
is
years
what
to
it
come.
is.
Yeah.
Judge set to be activated Friday.
No bigger.
Huge news.
Couldn't be a bigger acquisition in sports right now.
Yeah, how about
Getting
that?
guy back.
Huge series. Where are they headed?
Yeah, they're heading over to Baltimore. That's going to be massive. An absolute litmus test. Baltimore just dropped 2 out of 3 to the Phillies. They lost the last one of the series 6-4 in a huge series.
Kind of blew it a little bit late.
Yeah, so that was the second one that they blew late.
Yeah,
So
they had the Orioles were chipping away, and then they gave up another 2 spot to just make it out of reach.
Yeah. The loss goes to Bradish, so he was pitching late into the game there. You got to give him credit for that. The Phillies and the Orioles play an absolute barn burner of a series. And there are 2 teams I honestly just see as playoff rosters.
Yeah, I agree. I think they will both end up being there.
But we got the Yankees and the Orioles this weekend, which will be very intriguing. That will
Huge
that
series.
Kicks off on Friday with Garrett Cole against Rodriguez.
Huge game 1 starter too. The Yanks, I mean, 2.5 out. Only got one team to jump in Boston.
Yeah, apparently they're leaning towards buying at the deadline, which, honestly, they're the Yankees.
I said that. They don't sell. Don't expect them to sell. It's not going to happen.
When do they ever?
The AL wild card, though, is getting a little bit interesting now. With the Mariners, they're starting to win a little bit more. 6-4 in their last 10, only 4.5 out. 2 behind the Yanks.
Yeah.
That's not... Like I've been saying, the Angels, only a half game behind the Yankees.
That's one I see.
And Cleveland, within 5.
Yeah, good.
Above 500. Then it drops off to Detroit at 11, so we'll stop at Cleveland because I don't know how much.
Yeah, I think we talked about him earlier, going to the Rangers possibly, but man, if the Yankees go out and get Jordan Hicks...
They could use somebody, partner him with Clay Holmes in the back.
Yes, sir. I don't know who gets the 9th then. Hicks?
I think you'd probably still give it to Holmes because he's been here. You put Hicks in the 8th.
Yeah.
Just in case if he struggles a little bit, you still have the
Regardless,
reliability.
I think that would be a great move for that team, and they are getting Judge back, which is the biggest acquisition you can make on Friday.
Yeah, I mean, without making a trade, they're getting a huge piece.
So, I mean, don't be surprised if you see the Yankees squeeze in there. That's kind of what they do, especially they can make a surprising trade. That happens so often with them, too.
Yeah, I mean, you got any bold picks for the Yankees on you think that they might trade for? Imagine they went out and got a guy like Stroman if the Cubs decide to not.
Man, that would be a good one for them, too. They could use a guy like
They could
him.
absolutely use a guy that keeps the ball on the ground in Yankee Stadium.
I know White Sox aren't listening too much on Cease. Maybe you can convince them.
They'd have to give up a lot for them to do that if they're just telling people no, though.
Because the report says that they declined all calls on Wednesday, all offers on Wednesday, but it didn't.
It's Friday.
It didn't say that he's off the table. They just declined every offer they received on Wednesday. That's all. Maybe that one wasn't good enough.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's interesting. I just don't know if the Sox are going to pull the move on Cease.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't. I don't. I kind of think you'll be hearing here's my analysis of it. I think you'll be hearing the Yankees' name a lot at the deadline and on the deadline, but I don't think you'll be seeing them in the actual trades. I think you'll be seeing them in the talks.
Yeah,
I think they'll fall short. Bridesmaid, not the bride this time.
Okay. All right, yeah. I mean, it'll be interesting. We'll see what they do. Lastly, the Mets started a nice little 4-game series at home against the Nats. Desperately need some wins. We'll see which way that makes them go. We were talking about that long rain delay that saw Robertson get traded.
Get a Mark Canha sack fly after the rain delay.
Long hour and a half in the first game for the delay. In the bottom of the 8th inning, the bases were loaded. They come back. Mark Canha hits a sac fly like Bill just said. They go up for good. Brooks Raley gets the save. David Peterson with 2 strong innings out of the pen. I honestly, I've liked him out of the bullpen more than a starter.
Yeah, he looked really good. Got out of a big spot.
It adds a nice lefty option that we haven't had besides like Raley.
Yeah, I mean Raley gets the save stepping up in a spot he didn't think he'd be pitching in because Robertson was supposed to be in that spot. So I mean, good on him.
The next 3 games are Mackenzie Gore versus Max Scherzer, Patrick Corbin versus Carlos Carrasco, and Trevor Williams, former Met, taking on Justin Verlander, whose name has been in the news recently.
I mean, Sunday could potentially be the last start for Justin Verlander in the blue and orange.
He might not even make the start if that's the day before, isn't it? When's the deadline? Is it Monday or It's Tuesday? Okay, so he might make that might be his last showcase start.
Tuesday is going to be electric. Huh?
Yeah, he might make his last showcase start right there.
We've heard Verlander's name with the Giants, his former team, the Astros,
the Rangers.
I was going to say most notably the Rangers.
How do you think Astros fans would feel about that?
The Rangers actually, we probably should have brought this up when we were talking about the Silver Boot, but the Rangers, they seem like the most prominent suitors for Justin Verlander.
Yeah, they do have a good farm system. I don't know how much.
I think the Angels fans would just be so distraught seeing Verlander in that blue and red. Man.
Also, another interesting to think about is if Verlander doesn't want to leave, he's not going to. He has a no-trade clause. He could just say, no, it's not happening, I'm staying here, and we could just be talking about nothing here.
Which he might. He might.
I think he will because of the way he's been talking. He said he wanted to win here. That's why he signed here, and it wasn't a one-year deal.
He did say if Billy talks to him, though, that's what it'll take.
Yeah,
He'll have to come to him and talk, and I think maybe he would waive that no-trade clause for a team like Houston to go back somewhere familiar. I don't know if he does it for a team like Texas.
I mean, he would have a good chance of winning with a team like Texas.
Great chance of winning with a team like Texas.
Yeah.
Good chance of winning with a team like Houston again.
Of course.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how that pans out. I think maybe Verlander might be one of the most intriguing storylines coming to the deadline.
We're in for an interesting weekend ahead and an interesting next week for sure.
Phenomenal baseball.
Humongous week in baseball.
Yeah, and we're going to catch you on Monday for the trade deadline episode.
And that was episode 3 of the 9 Frames podcast. I'm one half of your host, Mike Whalen.
And I am Bill Whalen. Enjoy your weekend, folks. We'll catch you for the